Recognizing Cowichan Valley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I appreciate the opportunity to support the amendment put forth by my colleague from Saanich North in the Islands for an amendment that delays this bill by 6 months. I would suggest that given the enormity of the decision being made with this legislation, given the very significant impacts that we are actually choosing to bring into the entire world with approval and, even more gallingly, the subsidization of the single largest point source of emissions in Canada's history at a time when, as I was pointing out this morning, on a daily basis, every single day in the media, the news about the impacts of climate change is getting more frequent and more alarming. While we were debating this bill in this House, the first city was lost to climate change. While we were debating this bill in this House, scientists came out to identify that we will be seeing far more tropical infectious diseases in Canada because of the warming. While we were debating the bill in this House, we learned that Canada will in fact warm at twice the rate of the rest of the world, and in fact northern Canada and BC even faster than that. While we were debating the bill in this House, we learned that Canada overall is failing to address climate change, while at the same time we are some of the biggest per capita emitters of greenhouse gases in the world. This absolutely requires a pause. This absolutely requires of us, of all 87 of us, to reflect at length and in depth on the choices that we're making in this House and the implications of those choices and the signals that we are sending to the rest of the world and to future generations. And if we look even at the four conditions that have been laid out, a fair return for the resource, there's no way of guaranteeing that. How do we determine a fair return when we're supposedly in a free market economy? We're supposedly supposed to be letting the market determine what can and cannot be economically viable, and yet we choose to insert ourselves in the wrong ways into this. Respect and make partners of First Nations. Well, while we were debating this bill, the people up in Wet'suwet'en territory have announced that they're going to be building a new camp to be protesting this. Not protesting, I take that back. They're going to be building a new camp to be asserting their territorial rights.
That's right.
That's happened while we were debating this bill. The condition to protect the air, land, and water. Well, while we were debating this bill, we got more information about the impacts of fracking from the doctors who have been touring this province and telling us that they are seeing symptoms and conditions up in the area where there is intense fracking in BC, symptoms they can't explain. Rates of brain cancer here on Daffodil Day, rates of brain cancer that far exceed statistical norms. Respiratory diseases, respiratory conditions, that they make a connection between flaring of gases and the expansion of these symptoms. That happened while we were debating this bill. Those doctors have been sharing their stories. And so I think that there is only one responsible thing for us to do at this point. And I know we've been speaking for days now, the three of us, and our pleas and our requests and our arguments and everything we've brought forward has felt like it's fallen on deaf ears. And yet we keep trying because for us, this is a deeply distressing and sad time. We have this extraordinary province, these extraordinary potentials. Imagine what we could do with $6 billion. The outcomes of those investments, we could be providing education and training opportunities to fill those 30,000 tech jobs that are unfilled in BC right now. Jobs that could contribute to increases in medical technology, maybe jobs that would eventually be the source of solving cancer. But we're not. We're not going to spend our $6 billion that way. And so it is with a truly heavy heart that I too speak to this, which I think will be for the last time as well. And while I recognize that this vote will likely go the same as every other vote on this bill has gone, I hope that our words have resonated for some of the members in this House. And I know that they will be recorded. And we will be looking back at them. And I think what is important for us to communicate at this point is this is a sad defeat, but in no way do we give up on what we believe to be an extraordinary potential and a vision for a different future for this province that isn't about dragging us backwards into the 20th century. And so on that note, I will hope that there will be members who will vote with us on this amendment to take 6 months. Thank you.